Hello and welcome back to the course on blockchain. We've already discussed ICOs in quite a bit of detail and looked at a case study. And today we're going to talk about blockchain startups and white papers for blockchain projects. Because I think it's an important topic. There's a lot of hype right now around cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And while there is a lot of merit to some projects, at the same time, there are a lot of projects that will probably fail, and it is important to understand, to kind of safeguard yourself, understand what a proper blockchain project looks like and if the idea is worthwhile. Now, I wanted to preface this by saying that none of this is investment advice. This is only educational purposes. We're just looking at some examples and nothing more than that. In fact, we're not even interested in the investment side of things. We're more interested in how these projects work and how blockchain is used. So here, we're on coinmarketcap.com, and you can see all of the different coins and tokens that exist right now. And if you look, there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Total market cap right now is like $322 billion of this market. It's growing very fast. And so what we're going to look at is tokens. So even if you just look at the tokens, these are the ones that they're meant to have, in fact, coins as well, but like specifically tokens. Those are the ones that have the ICOs, predominantly, and those are the ones that are meant to actually have some idea behind them. So one of the ones that we're going to look at is Power Ledger just now, but then there's lots and lots of different ones. And so, as we discussed before, somebody has kind of like an idea on how to change the world and make things better, and they want to create this mini economy, and they want to have their own token inside it to power the economy. But a lot of the time, people just release these in order to kind of ride the wave of the hype that exists, hoping that people will just invest into their token, just in order to later gain from the appreciating value of that token. Whereas the idea itself and the usage of token might not have any meaning. So how do you tell? How do you tell which ones are good and which ones are bad? And we're not talking about even investing into them. We're just trying to understand, how do you tell, how do you learn from these projects? How can we find the good projects? Because there's so many of them. How can we identify the good ones from the bad ones? And if we want to do our own blockchain project down the track, how do we, get some ideas, learn from others, learn from their successes and mistakes, but really look at the valid ones rather than the ones that are just trying to ride the wave of hype. Well, the way to look at it is to explore the white paper. And so we're going to look at a couple examples. So for instance, here's a project called SIA. And again, I don't know too much about this project. I'm not affiliated with this project in any way. But it looks like something like an interesting idea. That's what it looks like to me. And the idea is to use blockchain to create this distributed file hosting system, to create this distributed cloud hosting, or cloud storage platform or storage platform. And the way it works is, probably cloud's not the right word, just like a distributed storage platform. Because the way it works is we all have spare gigabytes or terabytes on our hard drives. We always have a little bit or a lot of extra space. So why not use that? Why not rent out that space on your computer to other people who need that storage, who are currently using things like Dropbox or Google Drive? Why not have something that is distributed? Remember that as we discussed, the main concept of blockchain is, one of the main concepts is to change the world or how Web 3.0 will work, and we'll talk about this actually in an upcoming tutorial. But the main idea is to go from centralized storages or centralized servers to decentralized. And so one of the things is storage. And so that's what they're doing. As you can see, there's lots of the different places where people are actually already part of the SIA blockchain. And so the data isn't actually stored on the blockchain itself. The data is stored on computers. It's anonymized. It's fragmented. So there's virus protection, obviously, that they've probably thought through. And what else? And there's multiple copies and so on. But the blockchain allows people to control their data and to protect the data so nobody else can access it unless they have like the private key. And also it allows them to then later to put their data together. So if their data is stored in multiple, like, 100 different computers around the world, the blockchain facilitates that process of putting it back together. So that's how I understand the project. Again, there's lots more details to it. I think it's like for me, it's that's the overview I have of it. But here you can find a bit more detail. You had 4.7 petabytes of storage capacity already, 878 hosts, used storage 113 terabytes, and market cap is $500 million of this project. And so how do you know if this idea is good, and how do you find out more detail? Well, these projects, what they usually have, what they should have, is called a white paper, and you can find the white paper link over here. So if you click white paper, you will be redirected to a description of how this project will work, and more importantly, in terms of coins or tokens, if they need a token for their project, they should mention how it works here. Remember that small economy we were talking about in the example of the theme park? Well, there Mary explained how she's going to use those tokens. So same thing here. They need to explain why, okay, they need blockchain. Why do they need blockchain? How are they going to use it? Great. And then they need to explain also, why do they need a token? What is the purpose of that token or coin that they're going to have inside the platform? What they're going to be doing? And so here, if you search for the word token or coin, so let's have a look. So if I search for token, right? Token doesn't come up. Okay, so I search for coin. You can see that it does come up, and then here it says SIA will initially be implemented as an altcoin and later financially connected Bitcoin via a two-way peg. And so then you can read a bit more, how they're going to use this coin. Well, in this case, it's probably going to be for paying for the storage, right? So people buy these coins and then they can pay each other for storage in these coins, and and that's how they're going to be using the coin. So here's economics of SIA. The primary currency of SIA is a SIA coin. The supply of SIA coins will increase permanently, and all fresh supply. So it has to be very thought through. So here you can see that they've put in a lot of thinking into this project and how it'll work. So that's one example. Let's have a look at another one. Another example is quite famous. It's called Power Ledger. So let's go to home page. So Power Ledger is a application of blockchain which allows people to sell their excess power to each other. So once you make electricity or like you gather solar energy, you can then sell it to your neighbors. So if you're part of this network, and generally the idea is that this approach will be cheaper than buying it from the grid. And I might be mistaken, but as far as I remember, it was an Australian startup, Seedperf. There you go. So it's an Australian startup that, because we have a lot of sun here, and so people install solar panels on their roofs and they gather electricity, and sometimes it's enough to power your own home, but a lot of the time it's actually too much, right? So you need to sell it back to the grid or do something with it. And the idea they had is, how about we use blockchain to actually create this mini economy. Again, the concept is like a mini economy where people can sell this electricity to each other, and that way they don't have to waste it, they don't have to sell it back to the grid, and also the sellers get a good price and the buyers get a good price because there's no middleman. You're not selling it back to the big company that operates the grid in the country, or that supplies electricity normally. And so there we go. That's a great idea. And again, so what we're doing, we're taking out the middleman, we're taking out the supplier of electricity, the big corporation, and therefore we're decentralizing something. Whenever we're decentralizing something, blockchain might be a good idea. So they've come up with a way to do that. And so you can read more about it in their white paper. So to find the white paper here, I think you go to papers, and then you go white paper English. It takes a while to load, so I've opened it here. And so here you can see it's a very well thought through project, version 8 of the white paper and so on. And then again, so here you can just understand how it works, the reasons for it and so on. to find out how this all set up. But also you can find here, they actually have, explanation here, technical power token, dual token ecosystem and so on. So if you go to page 22, let's go to page 22. Where is that? Okay, so somewhere here they start talking about the power token will serve as the fuel of the Power Ledger ecosystem. Power token will help facilitate low cost and so on. Actually, there was Sparks, I think it's called. Sparks, there. The Power Ledger platform is a trustless, transparent, and interoperable energy trading platform that supports an ever-expanding suite of energy applications with an exchangeable, frictionless energy trading token, Sparks. And so then they explain why they need Sparks and so on, and how it's going to work, why exactly they need a token. So in this case, it makes sense for them to issue a token because it's going to be a means of exchange of value. So there's another project. It's quite a famous one. And finally, here's a project not finally yet. We've got a few more, but like an interesting one I wanted to show you. It's called Provenance. And this is a project that uses blockchain in order to track products where they come from. So the best way to show it is like if you go to case studies, you'll see that like examples, like, you can use provenance to see where the fish came from that you're about to eat, or the meat, or like other foods. Is it through fair labor, or is it not through fair labor, and so on. Where is this wool coming from, or where was it created? Was it created in a shop? This shirt, was it created in a sweatshop, or was it created in a proper place with good conditions for the workers and so on? Where does your coffee come from? Does it come from it come from Ethiopia, or does it come from your neighbor's backyard? So it helps trace products throughout their journey through the world. Very, very interesting project. And indeed, again, because it's something that's decentralized, something that you want to take out the middleman. You don't want just one company or several organizations tracking this. You want this to be available to everybody. You want this, like here, it's not as much about decentralizing, like it's taking out the middleman. It's more about decentralizing as in making it available to everybody. So transparency, and one of the advantages of blockchain is transparency. So we want to increase transparency, so they're using blockchain. But the interesting thing about this project is that when I read their white paper, where is this white paper? I think it goes to technology here. If you look at the white paper here, where is it? Yeah, read our white paper. This is pretty cool there. If you read the white paper, I couldn't find any mention of coin or token. And so that's very interesting. So that even though they're using blockchain, they aren't actually doing an ICO or IPO, because maybe they just don't need to use coins or tokens in their account. They don't need some money to fund this. It's just a project that nobody needs to actually pay each other for things. It's just like a way that to organize this situation. And like, I might be wrong. They might have a token or coin, but the point is that sometimes projects, even though they use blockchain, they might not need to have an ICO. They don't need that internal economy to create, so to somehow exchange value between participants. And there are examples like that as well. So that's also something to keep in mind. Not all blockchain projects have to have an ICO. And finally, just some fun stuff towards the end. Kodak, if you've heard of Kodak, the photography company that went bankrupt a couple of years ago, is still around. They're still going through their bankruptcy proceedings, as far as I understand. And they announced their own cryptocurrency, token or ICO. And, so that's one of those examples when that's just like on the hype. They're trying to ride the hype wave. As you can see, the market price went right up as soon as that happened, like 120% up. But if you look at it now, it's like gone back down. And if you do some additional reading and research, you'll see that there was actually an investigation by a company, and they found that it's a worthless idea. And, it still hasn't gone ahead. They're really dragging along with this ICO and so on. And, just shows examples of even a large or previously large behemoth company. They still have actually like 7,000 or 6,000 employees, even to this day. But previously a huge company, like now is trying to do an SEO just to ride the hype wave. So be careful of that. And if you're just going to throw money away, I found this really interesting one. It's already closed, so it's too late. But this person actually, just funny, it's called the Useless Ethereum Token, the world's first 100% honest Ethereum ICO. Like, it's kind of like a parody on ICOs. There's so many people doing ICOs with, claiming that they have a cool project behind it just to raise money. And then that's probably not going to go anywhere. Well, this ICO is actually, they're saying up front that they're not going to do anything with that money. They're just going to spend it. They're going to waste it on themselves. Let's be honest, everyone's tired of ICOs. They get hyped up for weeks and then they launch and clog up the Ethereum network for days, and so on, so on, so on. So, and here they explain, some random person on the internet, and you're going to give a random person on the internet money, and they're going to take it and buy stuff with it. And so this project actually raised a lot of money, $158,000. You can read a bit more about it on Reddit and stuff like that. Like, yeah, so even people will invest even into things like that just for fun. So yeah, be careful out there. There's lots of stuff like this. And again, this is not about investments. It's more about projects. There's interesting projects out there that can give you ideas. Probably won't get any ideas from this, but you can get some interesting ideas from how Provenance uses blockchain, how Power Ledger uses blockchain, how SIA uses blockchain. And there are projects that you can explore and just focus on reading their white papers, because that's where all the technical details are contained or should be contained. On that note, hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, enjoy blockchains.